Hi, it's Marta, the business healer. I teach people how to use energy as a tool for business, for success. What if you can't see your biggest barriers to success? The funny thing is that despite having more tools, strategies, and resources than it seems like we've ever had access to before, many people are feeling stuck. They're feeling trapped in cycles of overworking, financial anxiety, especially right now, and invisible energetic blocks that keep them from truly experiencing the prosperity that they desire. In 2025, I've observed these patterns very intimately across the conversations I've been having with individuals, mostly small business owners, entrepreneurs, and professionals. Every one of us, when we heal these deeper blocks, we become more powerful, more abundant, more able to support the people, the work, the ideas, the purpose that we have in this lifetime. Breaking these patterns isn't actually only about individual success. It's about creating a new paradigm of how we approach work, money, personal power. So I've created new workshops specifically and directly from these real ahas that have come up in my work. And this is not another set of business trainings. We're actually going to be inviting you to look beneath the surface of your current reality and understand more deeply about these patterns and decide whether those are actually limiting you or elevating you. So this is an invitation to see yourself and your potential differently. If that resonates with you and you'd like to keep going, welcome. I'm calling this a prosperity upgrade series. These aren't going to be just workshops. These are portals to transformation. I'm sharing these because I believe that transformation happens in community. And we can not just see what's happening with us and get that personal attention, but hear what's coming out of other people's brains and feel seen and heard in ways that sometimes lands more deeply than when we're hearing coaching directly. The origin is real ahas that have come up from directly tackling patterns that have come up in my groups and individual work. The idea here is most people are in fix it, solve it mode, and they feel like they have to do it alone. That is not true. And there are a lot of energy layers to why that might be happening or why you might be experiencing that. And so the core behind this and what my intention is for anyone who comes to these workshops is we're breaking down 4 critical prosperity barriers that most professionals never talk about. And we never talk about them because we don't really tend to think about energy as something that is at play. We think it's mostly rational and all of that is fine. But if everything were rational, we would have figured out everything by now. So it's looking at other tools in addition to the tools that we have of our mental capacity. A lot of these things are not logical. They live in our bodies. They live in our mental space. They live in our emotions. Because we can't see those, we don't realize how powerfully or how generationally they're operating in the background of our lives and very likely, possibly, mostly controlling what happens in our day-to-day reality. Our workshop on April 25th is called Getting Real with Your Money. And I love this workshop. First time I've done any workshop like this because we're going into the money avoidance cycle. So what I found is my client, let's call her Kelly, has a story about her money. And the story is something that is happening all day, every day, and is operating low grade in the background, a sense of anxiety and dread about what might be happening or what is currently happening with her money. So when we do one of my group programs, we do a money exercise where we actually look at our money. I call it Money Church. Thank you, Rachel Rogers, for the idea. But we actually look at it. And what happened with Kelly is that Kelly looked at her numbers and Kelly realized that actually it's going a whole lot better than I thought it was. So once Kelly had a different sense and a different relationship to her numbers because she actually looked at them, she started to reframe this low grade anxiety and transform it into low grade excitement. So that's a huge transformation that is possible when we start to stop avoiding and really embrace looking at our money as a tool and as a practice that can actually be prosperity boosting. So this exercise, this whole workshop is designed to expose any unconscious patterns that are blocking your financial flow And the highlight is that money is energy. It's not just a number in your account. It's actually a relationship that you have with yourself. And that relationship and how you feel about money reflects your relationship and how you feel about yourself. It brings up fears maybe about being liked, about leaving money on the table, and what it will mean if people don't buy from you. Maybe that means that you are not likable. And so these ideas of self and how we feel about money, all coming back to this relationship in our body and our consciousness that we may not even be aware of because most people avoid it most of the time. What we're planning to do in this workshop, our transformation we're looking for is to offer techniques to transform money from an adversary to an ally. Not something that you're working against or fearing or feeling burdened to have to deal with, but an ally, something that has your back. And how to release shame around your current financial situation. Everything we do in this space, transformation is messy, evolution requires mistakes, a lot of discomfort. But if you're here and you're showing up for yourself, you're going to feel so different at the end of this because you'll be in a space where we are a no shame zone. We just have heartful space where we look and examine and get curious. And when we're curious, we're not attached. We're not really dwelling on how we feel about ourselves. We're just getting curious and we're poking around a little bit. But these are energetic practices that are intended to open up abundance pathways. And I found that if you want to transform, number one, you have to know what you want to transform and how you want that to be, but also you have to take a look at it. So that's why we're taking a look at it, not to trigger anything, but because when we start to look at it, we actually can unclench, we can release and feel more hopeful, more positive, more present, and excited, possibly. And that excitement is what starts to turn things around. When we feel it's not a reflection of us, what's in our bank account, but that we have possibility and we are whole and perfect and wonderful, regardless of what's happening in our account, we can start to see that we are great. So financial healing is emotional healing, and that's really what we're going to unpack. So summary for this, the invitation to you is if this resonates with you, consider that your relationship with money is a conversation, not a judgment. So if that triggers something in you, sit with it, journal with it, or join us for the workshop. May 3rd, we're going to do harnessing the power of karma. So this is taking the idea of business beyond the traditional understanding. This is going to be an afternoon workshop on a Saturday afternoon. And we're really looking here at karma as an unconscious pattern. So karma is just information. These are lessons that are coming through to teach you what you need to know in this lifetime. And sometimes karma can be gentle, but if we don't listen, karma will start to get louder and less gentle so that we get the lesson that we're supposed to get. So karma is just energetic patterns to help us learn these lessons. It is not punishment. It's not something you should dread or something you should worry about or something that you should avoid. It's like gravity. Once you know how to work with it, it's something that can help you in life. So all we're doing is looking at how these unconscious patterns that are repeating across our lives are teaching us what we need to know in order to be more abundant. And this could be patterns like, how have your bosses traditionally been? Have they been kind of the same person? Have you had the same feelings at work? If you have money situations in your family or personal experience with money, have you had any patterns with your money? Have you had any patterns in relationships, whether that's romantic or friends or anything like that? And then relationships. So what are the relationships that are showing up in pattern for you? Are those patterns serving you? What is there to learn? So when we can actually illustrate what karma plays as a role in our lives, we can start to see that we are learning lessons and having to address things that are coming up in our health and our relationships, our finances. And sometimes these patterns can be generational. They can look like diseases that tend to run in families. They can look like history of broken relationships. They can look like bankruptcies. I have a client who the one parent was the spender and the other parent was the earner. And the spender pretty much was unhinged every time they got access to money. And the other parent, not surprisingly, was very holding on to money. So that taught my clients a lot of conflicting information about money, meaning it's plentiful, spend it, or don't spend it all, don't touch it. So we're going to look at these patterns. And a lot of this, again, is unconscious. So we're going to decode your personal karmic blueprint by looking at patterns. We're going to understand how past actions create our current circumstances. Again, we're just looking at fruit and seeds here. That's what karma is. You plant seeds and then you get the fruit. You don't plant corn and get mangoes. So we're just going to look at that. It's going to be light. It's going to be fun. And we're having you shift from a karmic passenger to a conscious creator. And this is where we look at, like, what seeds am I planting? What fruit am I getting? Do I like that? Do I want something different? And so we become empowered. And that's what I mean about passenger, or maybe even driver, as opposed to kind of like a victim or somebody who doesn't know how to work with this law. And we'll have some practical energy practices for interrupting these patterns. So the invitation here for this workshop about karma is, you're not a victim of your history, you are the architect of your future. So if that resonates with you, perhaps this might be interesting for you to explore or to journal about further. The final thing is Prosperity Book Club. I've had a book club over the years, and it's really fun because people from all over the world find this and they join, and it's always a really cool conversation. So we're going to read Happy Pocket Full of Money by David Cameron Gikandi, or Gikandi, I'm not sure exactly how to say that. And it's just going to be an hour-long discussion. We're going to do brief overview, and we're going to have this discussion about what we learned. This is an interesting book because it goes through not just practical things about how money works, but it mainly looks at the energy patterns behind what shows up in our lives. It goes into quantum physics. It's really, really fascinating. And reading it itself is an act of neuroplasticity, which is rewiring your brain. I have a client who still says reading this book was the most prosperous thing they ever did, because after that, they were feeling rich. They woke up saying, like, I feel wealthy. I'm walking around in the world as a very different person because I feel prosperous. I feel really, really full. So if you're interested in shifting your energy to feel more prosperous, highly recommend it. And I find that when a group of people comes together reading the same book with the same intention, all the people in my communities are always seekers, people who are on the path of evolution, consciousness, understanding how things work that we can't see. And I think this is going to be a really special discussion because we're coming together to talk about some of this energetic stuff that is in this book, really written out in a way that just makes a lot of sense. And some of this is intuitive when you read through, you're logically getting it, but you're also absorbing a layer of energy and a layer of intuitive activation that I think is really powerful. So we're going to experience that. We're going to accelerate each other's thoughts about what we're learning from this book. And we're going to collectively interpret and integrate the information that comes through. It should be a living, breathing conversation that is really rewarding to be part of. So if this resonates with you, consider the invitation. Imagine learning prosperity principles surrounded by others who are committed to growth. So if that sounds good to you, I'm really looking forward to this. I have read it and started and stopped and started and stopped over the years, just because there's so much to take in. What about all of this? So this is the Prosperity Upgrade series. These are the workshops and book club that I'm hosting because there is so much fear in the atmosphere right now, and you are not what your feelings are. You are a conscious being. You're very powerful, and you can be prosperous in any circumstance, but it really starts with what's happening inside us, what's happening with our energy. So this is my offering to the world right now. Despite whatever's happening outside, you can always find peace inside, and you can find prosperity inside. And that's what we're going to be doing. So if you're interested in learning more, you can either visit thebusinesshealer.com/services, or you can drop heal in the comments, like HEAL, just drop heal in the comments, HEAL, and I will send you the link to register. I will send you the link to all of the workshops so that you have them. So it's a really easy process. You just register on Eventbrite. These are all no-cost workshops, so you're welcome to join whatever your financial circumstances are. If you cannot make it in real time, that's totally fine. I will send replay links to anyone who registers. But if you don't register, I can't send you the link because I don't know you're interested. So even if you can't make it in real time, all the recordings will be shared with those who registered. So this is welcome to everybody. If you're curious about my work but don't know where to start, this is a really excellent place to start. It's going to be wonderful. And my communities are always these beautiful spaces where we learn from one another. These workshops are also gateways. They're not endpoints. We're going to move a lot of energy, and I'm always committed to making sure that you have as much practical information that you can act on as possible. We'll learn. And I encourage you, if there are other people who you think could use some transformation in their prosperity, please share this information. Please invite others. They are absolutely welcome. And I'm really excited about this. I'd be grateful for anybody to hop into these workshops, and your prosperity is waiting. So are you ready to answer the call? If you have any questions, any thoughts, are you excited? Tell me what's on your mind. Tell me in the comments below if there is a particular workshop that sounds most exciting to you. Otherwise, I'm really excited to be here talking about these ahas and to be able to offer these opportunities for transformation, for insights, and for evolution when it comes to your own prosperity. Thank you for being here. I appreciate you so much. Very, very grateful for your attention, and I will see you next time.